Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to take a look at something different, something that I have never done, and that is the Joy Toy Warhammer 40K Space Wolves Intercessors. I think I said that right. So, I've never had a Warhammer figure, let alone a Joy Toy Warhammer figure. Now, before anyone says anything, and you've watched my other videos, I did 2 other Joy Toy videos where I had bad luck, I guess you could say. Didn't have a good experience, and I said I'd never buy another Joy Toy. Well, I did not buy this. This was actually sent to me by Wraith Mace. I will leave a description. I will leave a link to his Instagram and YouTube. If you like Warhammer, check him out. Guy is very passionate about it, but he's a big fan of the channel, big supporter of the channel, and he said he just hated that I had such a bad experience with Joy Toy, and he said he never had one with the Warhammers. So he sent this to me. I'm going to do a review. Hopefully I'll have a better experience with this than with these Joy Toy military figures that I got. So anyway, this is how the box comes. It came from Amazon. Of course, Amazon, so it kind of came in a bag. So not going to be mint, but I'm going to open it so it doesn't matter. So there's what you get. There's your Warhammer. This is supposed to be an army builder, so it's not going to be one of those more expensive characters that you're going to pay for, but it doesn't matter. Like, the quality of a figure should be the same, whether it's an army builder or a main character. And there's everything that you get. You can see there's a lot of accessories there. It tells you what it contains, so I'm looking forward to getting this open, seeing how it fits. Maybe it fits with a lot of my G.I. Joe, the 1/18th figure. So let's take a look at this. Not all of this, but anyway, before we do, if you don't mind, if you're new to the channel, take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop some sort of toy. Maybe it's not G.I. Joe, maybe it's something different. So let's take a look. Alright, so as I normally do with any of the first time I've ever opened something, I show how it actually comes packed. So it's in this box, and hopefully it's just on a real nice, easy tray that everything pops out. And I'm also hoping that the color of the table doesn't blend too much with everything. So there we go. There's a stand behind it, which is a nice, clear stand. Now, you're not going to hear me complain too much about a clear stand, especially with 1/18 scale figures. Everything is packaged. Looks pretty nicely, way nicer than what I got with their little military figures. Unfortunately, we have to kind of do it the crinkle here. That just comes right out, and looking at it, I have a feeling everything's going to maybe just fall right out, just like a Mezco figure, which doesn't really bother me. So everything comes out nice and easy. Hasbro, G.I. Joe team, think about doing that, because good Lord, I can't deal with that stuff anymore. So there is our figure. He stands right up right away. So here's everything that he comes with. We got 2 fists, all right? We got 1 trigger hand and 1 just holding hand. It looks like he's got the trigger hand here and the holding hand here. So 2 trigger fingers, 2, can't really call them thumb wrestling hands, but that's what I normally call them, and then 2 fists. Got a chainsaw, which is nice and straight. Nothing gummy like a Hasbro weapon. Really nice and solid. The other thing that I can say is it being a chainsaw, unlike NECA, where everything is super sharp. Even down here, these little points here that I guess you would use for fighting, they're not real sharp. If you're talking about a NECA figure, a Mythic Legions figure, they actually hurt your your finger. So we can quickly look at this here, and one little bit of paint app that runs across it. So I think that looks nice there. Handles painted. Got a little circle here that's obviously going to be to hold something if need be. And we'll see how that goes in his hand. We have a holster with a weapon in it. Now, it doesn't look like this comes out, so this is just one piece that's going to peg right in. And over on this one, it looks like we have the open one. So you can kind of change it up because we have the pistol right here. But they put a few paint apps on this here. So I would assume that's some sort of emblem or badge that they signals their rank, their insignia of what they are possibly. Again, I know nothing about it. I am reviewing an actual action figure. But the paint looks really nice on it. I don't see any issues with it here. And they are hitting you with a few different paint apps, so not bad. And the peg looks like that ball joint is going to peg in really nicely where it's not just a straight one. Then here we have the pistol. Again, another hole there. It makes me wonder if it's for something else or if that's just for the look of it. But we got two different paint apps on this. So you get the black that's painted across it. When I hold my hand on it, it makes it look like the handle is brown, but it's not. But you got a nice little trigger guard there. It looks like they might have some sort of blast effects. That is a very large blast port, that's for sure. Way bigger than a 6-inch figure. And then we have the big giant gun now. No removable magazine or anything like that. So you got a nice scope on it. Big weapon. I think this thing looks pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. But the paint looks good. There's no overlay on it or overrun on it, where a lot of times you'll find some companies, they brush too far and it looks awful. This looks really good. Matter of fact, the silver looks like it's kind of weathered, which I'm perfectly fine with. And then over here we have the second paint app, which is just some sort of skeleton, it looks like, with wings. So again, I know nothing about the lore. It looks like it actually is kind of like his emblem on his chest. So, and then he comes with a backpack here. All right. So everything feels really nice on it. Okay. You got the silver across, or the silver that does look weathered. Now the weather look really gives you a nice feel to it. Even some of the paint on the inside makes it look nice and weathered. But the detail on this is very sharp. Real nice, and even on the inside of the backpack of when you would take it off. Alright, now let's get into the actual figure. Before we do, let's take a look at the articulation, because I know nothing about this articulation. Alright, so you get the head that moves back and forth. It does move around a little. His T-pose is going to be really hindered by these pauldrons. I'm not sure if they come off or not. They definitely are loose. So you're only going to get up to about there with your T-pose. Get your elbow joint that goes, I would say, a little bit past 90 degrees. Real nice and smooth though. No issues there. Wrist moves back and forth. Hands are really soft and pliable, which I like, and so then you have weapons and stuff that you're going to be throwing on there. He has his waist articulation, does turn back and forth. Nothing feels gummy. Not going to get a good Jean-Claude Van Damme, that's for sure. Knee. Wow, knee gets a really good bend for being some sort of type of mech. There you go with that. I don't know why they give you a stand. Like how big his feet are. So let's take a look at this here. And there you have some nice looking paint on the eyes. Got some silver on it. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you get in vents like that if there's actual black paint on it. I don't think there is. It's hard to tell. Sometimes it has the shading, just the shade from the light coming in makes it look dark, but it looks real nice. Got this nice chest emblem here, so you got your nice. It's red on this gold, and everything feels really nice and solid. On the side, you got this what's that, tiger stripe? Again, this is supposed to be like 40,000 years in the future, I believe. But the paint looks really nice there. And over here we have some sort of wolf, which makes sense. It's a space wolf. But all the little detail on here, it looks good. Way better than what I got with the military figure. As you see, that knife actually comes out. So we have nice little diamond. I know people will probably kill me because I know this is huge, but again, I'm reviewing an actual action figure, not the lore of it. Color looks good. Let's look at this knife here. And it is pliable. It is kind of sharp, but not too sharp. When I talked about the AWOC figures, and so those things are great for kids, but it's you don't want to give them the weapons. So you got all these pouches in the back, and then here you have obviously the holster that is removed. Looks like a wolf's tail right here. And that paint looks really nice. It looks like they're only really using 3 different paint, maybe 3 or 4 different paint apps here. But the way they blend it, it looks beautiful. And stuff like this here with the little silver, it just accents it just enough to give it some pop. But everything around here, all the detail, whether it is, they have toe articulation too. I totally missed that. Not a big fan of toe articulation, but with something like this, you can get away with it. But all the detail around here, whether it's actually painted, I don't think it's painted. I think it's just a shade. But it gives a nice look to it. So now let's try and arm him up and see exactly how he is. So backpack is going to have 2 little pegs. I'll pop right on there. And I'm assuming this is a jetpack so he can actually fly. I think this figure might fit really good with some of my Joes. Trigger finger. Let's start with the big gun first. And I really like how pliable the hand is. So it's easy to open up. Kind of just stretch it here. And yeah, this figure feels 10 times better than anything from that military line from Joy Toy that I had grabbed. That is for sure. So real easy to pose, keeping standing straight. No reason to use a stand. Again, I'm not a big fan of stands, especially if I don't need them. But I do understand with the 1/18 scale. All right. So let's pop off the hand because that was my biggest issue. So that came off real easy. So this really feels like a Mezco, where the hand is super pliable and you have this very hard ball joint right here, which is going to make things way easier. But for some odd reason, with that other Joy Toy that I got, I had nothing but issues. That hand is tiny. And did I speak too soon? I mean, what am I missing here? Because maybe I need to heat this thing up. I mean, those look like 2 different hole sizes. And I just don't... Man, what am I missing? There's the fist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try and heat this up. Because I just cannot believe... I mean, this hand is super pliable. And then if I grab this trigger finger, this trigger hand... Alright, so the trigger hand goes on here. But... there's the holding hand. It just looks way too small. Maybe I just need to heat it up. Again, not a big deal if you have to heat a figure up. We've discussed this before. But that hole just seems too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera really quick. I'm going to go heat this up and see if it works. Okay, so I heated up the hand. and it went on fairly easy. So not a big deal. I have no issues. Heating up figures, I don't know why it has become such an issue with people in the community recently, where they think they shouldn't have to heat anything up. These are different plastics than what people had back in the 80s. So, not a problem. I don't have an issue with that. It was just kind of shocking. I thought it would go on a little bit easier right away, but not going to complain. So here we have this giant sword / chainsaw. And I gotta say, this hand seemed to freeze up pretty quickly. I don't know why this one seems so much harder than the trigger hand. So here we have the big sword right there / chainsaw. Gonna take his pistol. Sorry that I keep bumping that. I love how easy these things do go on the hands. So, lots of weapons, lots of accessories here for something pretty small. But this is going to be interesting to take pictures with. That is for sure. Obviously, you can see it's not really going to fit on the NECA display, although since it's a little bit further back, it doesn't look like it's as small as it is. But as you can see, it's tiny. Except when I move them up like this. So, all right. So let's just take a look at this. Pop off the empty holster, and we'll throw this one on. And that looks pretty good. It fits. It pops on nice and smoothly. It looks like you can probably move things around depending on what hand you want it to be on. Here we have the little knife. We can pop the knife out. Now, unfortunately, it feels a little stretched out, so we'd have to heat this up, close it, cool it, because this knife is not really going to stay in there. But let's be honest, he's got this big saw, he's got this big old gun, so I would assume that I would not be using this knife all that often. So, but so far, yes, this is way better than the military figures that I got. And dealing with those, as someone called them, those janky wrist joints. But, man, it's so weird. Like, this hand is really, really tight. Yet the trigger fingers are very pliable. If you're a big fan of these, if you collect these, I would love you to leave a comment. And let me know, like, if that is just kind of normal. So here we go. Look at this. So, the hell of a figure, I gotta say that. For being 1/18 scale, it feels nothing like the other Joy Toys that I got. I don't know why I had such an issue with that, with those. Can we make them run on one foot? And possibly, look at that. So you stand on 1 foot, not shocking, it is big. And again, you have a stand if you really need it, but if you can't figure out how to stand this figure, then you shouldn't be collecting action figures. So let's wrap this up. Alright, so my first thought on this figure is, yeah, these figures are pretty good. If I would have started with something like this, I would have had a completely different look at the Joy Toy and maybe jumped into something a little bit more. I still have an issue with the Army figures, and that is what I really deal with. But as for the Warhammer, I see why people like this. Why it is appealing to them. I don't understand the lore. I don't know the lore. I don't want to say I don't understand it. I don't know the lore, but as an action figure, and that's what I am reviewing, this is really good. Smooth joints, nice accessories, good paint. Paint is always a huge thing. And from what I understand, a pretty decent price. As I said, this was donated to me by someone, and I don't go ahead and look at how much something costs when someone is very gracious enough to send me something of their own merit. So that's my feeling on this Warhammer Joy Toy figure. Alright, so that's my review on my first Joy Toy Warhammer 40K figure. Yes, thank you, Wraith Mace. Again, I would never have bought one because I had such a bad experience with 2 out of 3 Joy Toy figures. And I'm always willing to give a company a second chance. A third, I'm not sure, especially when you're looking at the price of what they are charging. And before anyone jumps on me about the price, I understand small companies, they have to charge more, but I still expect a good product. I don't have a problem paying $22 to $25 for a 1/18 scale figure, but I do want it to do what it's supposed to do. But I gotta say, for these Joy Toy Warhammers, really nice. It is like, it's like night and day. Super smooth. It's just a different feel. It truly is. So if you're interested in the Joy Toy Warhammer, I have to say I had a pretty good experience with this. And if you're thinking about jumping in that lore, trying to find out something about it, or you just want to pick up a figure like that, go for it. I always say pick up one figure and then see if you like it before you start bad-mouthing it, destroying it. That's really the only way to know, is get something in hand and mess around with it. But I'm going to get out of here. You guys are giving me a lot of your time, and I definitely do appreciate it. What I am going to do right now is I'm going to ask, hey, if you're new here, you're on Instagram, a punk with toys. I have 2 of them. Hit them both. Facebook group page, Punks with Toys, because once you join, you're a punk with toys. Last but not least, you stayed this long, take a second, hit that like button, hit that bell notification, and hit that subscribe button. I did out of order, which completely screws me up, but you know what I'm doing. And again, I don't know why I'm pointing up here. There's nothing there. But I'm going to get out of here, but don't go anywhere. Right up here is going to be another Joy Toy video. I'll do the first one, and then down here will be a bunch of other 1/18 scale stuff that I've done. Take care.